Hi team. In this video session, we will see more details about deadlock. Okay. First, we will see the deadlock definition. Then we will see SQL Server action in case of deadlock. And then we will see best practices to mitigate the occurrence of deadlock. In between, we also see the demos. Okay. Whatever I will explain you, I will also show you the demo after that point. Let's start now. So deadlock is a situation in which two or more processes are involved. Okay. And both these processes are waiting for each other to release that lock. So this situation we can call it as a deadlock. So now what SQL Server will do in case of deadlock? So SQL Server will terminate any one of the transaction based on the work that has been done by that transaction. So here I mean to say if there are two transactions, transaction A and transaction B, and transaction A is updating 5 rows and transaction B are updating 10 rows. So in that case, the transaction A's work is less because it's only updating 5 rows in compared to transaction B that is a less. So SQL Server will choose the transaction A to terminate that. So in that case, we can say that it's a deadlock victim. That transaction we can say it as a deadlock victim. Okay. So we'll see the demo first about the transaction about the deadlock. We will create deadlock and I will show you how that deadlock occurred. Okay, so give me 1 minute. I will set up the queries for you. So guys, these are the queries. Okay, here we have connection 1 and here we have connection 2. So in connection 1, we are opening a transaction. Okay, we are updating test table where the ID is equal to 2. And in connection 2, we are updating the products table where the product ID is equal to 2. So again, in connection 1, we have delayed this transaction for 3 seconds so that we can in between we can run the other transaction. Okay, so now this is the select statement which is fetching the same row which is being updated in transaction 1, and here we are selecting the same row which is being updated in connection 2. So obviously, as there is already exclusive lock and we are trying to acquire shared lock in our select statements, so it will block each other. Okay, so let me run this and I will show you if deadlock is occurred or not. So if you can see, both the transactions are blocked and they are now waiting for each other to release the lock. Now we'll see. Now if you can see, SQL Server has already terminated connection 2. Okay, as I have told you, SQL Server will interfere and will terminate any one of the transaction. So how SQL Server will decide as to what transaction has to be terminated and which transaction has not to be terminated as compared to in between the deadlock. Okay, so SQL Server will first consider the work which is done by both the transaction. So here in connection 1, we are updating 5 rows and in connection 2, we are updating 2 rows. So the less number of work done in this case is by transaction 2. Okay, so in that case SQL Server will terminate the transaction. So the reason is, whenever SQL Server terminates the session, it has to roll back all the changes which was done. So in this connection 2, there are 2 rows impacted, so SQL Server has to roll back these two rows. But in case of connection 1, it's impacted 5 rows, so it will be easy for SQL Server to roll back these 2 rows as compared to 5 rows. Okay, because it's involve performance cost, and obviously SQL Server will choose the transaction which has less number of work done, as it has to be rolled back also, and it involved cost. So this is about the SQL Server action in case of deadlock. Okay, now there are 2 points I would like to mention here. Okay, so I have told you the SQL Server by default behavior. So now we can also change the default behavior, and we can terminate the other session, connection 1 session, even it has a maximum rows that are going to be impacted. So how we can do that? We can set the deadlock deadlock priority to highest value. Okay, so in this statement we can select a values from -10 to +10. That means we have 21 values. So we are setting the priority for connection to at highest level. Okay, so now we can see we have changed the SQL Server behavior. Now SQL Server will give a maximum priority to this connection, and it will not terminate this connection. Let's check that. Now if you can see, both the transactions are blocked. Okay, now you can see now we have already changed the SQL Server default behavior, and we have set the deadlock priority to the high on this connection. So this connection will never be blocked by SQL Server in case of deadlock. The connection 1 was blocked by SQL Server, but not connection 2. Okay, so we have changed the SQL Server default behavior. Okay, now we will see the best practices to mitigate the occurrence of deadlock. So first point is proper index should be there. Okay, so in case of deadlock, if there is no proper index placed or created on the table, then and if we are even if we are applying a filter in where condition, okay, in that case also it will read and block entire rows in the table because there is no indexes. Okay, but if we have an index on that column in that table, then it will only block that particular row. Okay, let me give you one example here. So now we have table called products. Okay, so these products don't contain any indexes on it. Okay, so we can say it's a heap as there is no indexes on this. And now what I'm trying to do, I have initiated a transaction under which I'm updating the product ID to in products table. Okay, and here I'm trying to access the same row. So obviously it should be block. Okay, and that making sense. But what if we are trying to access another row where product ID is equal to, let's say, 1, and if we try to run this, so see, this row is also blocked. But if you can see, we are just updating the product ID is equal to 2. But in case there, because there is no indexes on product table, it's locking all the rows in that table. So that's the reason we are not even to fetch the another row also. So let me roll back this. Okay, now let me show you if the table has indexes, then what will be a behavior. So here we are updating table X, okay, where ID is equal to 2. Now in this case on table X we have a indexes. Okay, so I have initiated the transaction. Now I'm trying to access the same row. Okay, the same row will obviously will be blocked. Now we will try to select the another row from the table. Now see, so now we are still getting the result because the ID 1 is not blocked. The only ID is equal to 2 is blocked. And as we have indexes on table X, so we are able to retrieve other rows. Unlike the previous example, which did not have, which don't have any indexes, so all the rows get locked. So this is about best practices. Okay, so there is last best practice, use read committed snapshot isolation level. Or yeah, so I have already explained in previous sessions. Okay, if we use snapshot isolation levels, in snapshot isolation level, select statement will not try to acquire share lock. Instead it will use the last committed version of the row. So in the deadlock example, if you can see, if we have used the read committed snapshot isolation level, then in that case deadlock was not occurred
because it should not have occurred the deadlock, because in case of snapshot there will be a no, the select statement will not try to acquire shared lock, okay, on the row which already have the exclusive lock. So there should not have any deadlock in case of snapshot isolation level. So thank you for watching this video. Have a good day.